raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Once you're settled and comfortable, we'll have you give us your full name and spell the last. The microphone you can move close to your mouth so the jury can hear you. You are your name and last name, or spell your last name, please.
First is Verge, and last name Franks, Franks.
Thank you, Ms. Eiderman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Franks, what was your current occupation, or sorry, what is your current occupation?
Right now, I am retired.
And what did you do prior?
I worked for the Sheriff's Office in Buren County.
For how many years?
34 and a half.
And were you acting in your capacity as a sheriff deputy on January 7th of 2007?
I was.
And were you involved in the investigation of the Stermer home?
I was, yes.
Can you tell us what, when you first heard of this, or what, how you became aware of this, what was happening?
At the time, I was shift supervisor, rank of sergeant with the patrol division. One of my deputies, Deputy Evans, notified me and mentioned that he had a fatality and a structure fire, and asked that I come down to the scene, so I did.
And so you went down immediately then after receiving that call?
I did, yes.
And you arrived then at the Stermer home?
Yes, I did.
And did you drive down the driveway, or did you park in the street, or something else?
I parked along the main street. I did not pull into the driveway.
And then was that County Road 215?
Yes.
And did you walk down the driveway?
I did, yes.
Can you describe that driveway for the jury?
Non-paved driveway. My best guess, and only a guess, is around 150 to 200 yards. The actual surface at the time was muddy and wet. It was that time of year, in that particular year, where there was rain and snow that day.
And was the rain and snow occurring when you had arrived?
I remember a wet driveway and fire apparatus coming and going. I think water shuttling possibly, and didn't want to get in the way of the fire trucks. Is basically why I parked where I did.
So the fire trucks were going up and down the driveway?
Yes.
And do you recall how many trucks?
I do not.
Any issues with the fire trucks getting up and down the driveway?
I do not remember any issues.
And when you arrived, what did you observe?
Emergency personnel on scene, an ambulance, fire apparatus, firefighters in the fire turnout gear, and law enforcement.
And do you recall what you noticed or observed about the fire itself? What stage it was in or where it was at?
I don't remember it being still a working fire. I don't remember seeing flames. There was smoke. Whether that was smoke or steam due to suppression efforts, or if it was still actively burning, I do not know.
So the fire department was actively fighting the fire when you arrived?
Yes.
And so what was your role on scene?
I was shift supervisor at the time in the patrol division. Made contact with Deputy Evans, and after being briefed by him, made a decision, and that was to request our criminal investigation division to come out.
And would that have been Detective Maziowski and Detective Rout?
Yes.
And did you assist in any way with collection of Linda Stermer's clothing?
I did, yes.
And how did that come about?
The recollection that I have isn't crystal clear, but I was involved in retrieving clothing that Linda Stermer was wearing when I got to the scene.
And so it was handed to you and you collected it?
Yes, but I do not remember who handed it to me.
Do you remember where it was handed to you from?
My recollection is that Linda Stermer was inside an ambulance, and that the clothes were handed to me near the ambulance or from the ambulance.
I'm going to show you what can be marked as People's Proposed Exhibit number 3. Your Honor, may I approach? Do you recognize this package? Please tell me how.
I do.
And how do you how do you recognize it?
The labeling here, and also some of it's coming back to me now. After seeing this, there is a sweater, a pair of pants, and socks. And these were what Linda Stermer was wearing when I got to the scene.
And these are the items of clothing you collected?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this time I move for admission for People's Exhibit number 3 into evidence.
You stipulate, Your Honor.
You stipulate?
Yes.
Obviously, exhibit, what you say?
Number 3.
3.
Thank you, Your Honor. And so you collected these items from personnel then on scene, and can you tell the court then what you did with those items?
Deputy Evans, who I referenced before, he was our evidence technician at the time, and I handed these articles of clothing to Deputy Evans. He was our professional evidence handler, and any packaging would have been done by Deputy Evans for chain of custody purposes.
And you didn't have any involvement then with that evidence after you collected it and handed it off to Tony Evans?
I did not.
Anything else that you collected on scene?
No.
Any other roles that you were involved in on scene other than just being in charge and pretty much being aware of what was happening?
General logistics, that type of thing, dealing with our victim services unit and other officers that came and went. Also, when the medical examiner's office arrived, I had a role in assisting her there at the scene.
What was your role there with her, with assisting her?
As I recall, her name was Amy Darling, and as I recall, there came a point in time when it was necessary for her and her duties just to examine the body of our deceased victim, and I assisted with helping to roll the body so she could see all parts, all sides of the victim's body.
And so you actually physically assisted in rolling them over?
I did.
And could you describe the injuries that you saw?
I saw what I think are extensive burns, hair from the head. If there was anything to begin with, it was burned away. Some loosening skin, like really loose, around the arms, hands, if I recall that. And I recall just some type of pants that the victim had on, and that's all that I recall. The torso was exposed, and it looked like some types of injuries along the back, and then the head, there was blood from the head.
So you saw blood from the head?
Yes.
And did you see any of the injuries on the head?
I didn't look at those. That's what the medical examiner's office was doing. I was just helping.
So this was just your basic observation?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to publish and to pass around the item number 3. And I have no further questions.
Mr. Pelt or Mr. Newell? Any questions?
Yes. So, Deputy Franks, how long have you served on the Van Buren Sheriff's Department?
34 and a half years. I was
34?
hired- Yes, hired in 89, retired in 2021.
Retired in 2021?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you stated that When you arrived at the Stermer property on January the 7th, 2007, who all was present when you arrived?
I recall Deputy Evans with the Van Buren Sheriff's Office. I recall Deputy Gary Gruss with the Van Buren Sheriff's Office. I do not recall any other law enforcement when I first arrived.
So it was Deputy Evans and Deputy Russ?
Gruss, it's G-U-R-S-S, Deputy Gary Gruss.
Okay. And were there first responders there? The ambulance was the ambulance there when you arrived?
I do recall an ambulance there. I do recall fire apparatus and firefighters in their coats and helmets, but I don't know who they were.
Okay. And your position at that time was what rank did you have at the?
I was patrol sergeant. I was just a shift supervisor in the
Okay.
Uniformed Services Division.
Okay. So the call comes in and you just show up because it's in the area, right?
Yes, Deputy Evans specifically reached out to me as his first supervisor to respond to the scene.
Okay.
He was following chain of command.
Okay. Okay. And did you see the state of the fire when you arrived?
The best I can recall is that there was smoke, but I don't recall seeing flames when I arrived.
Okay.
But it was an active scene, and what I mean by an active fire scene is there were fire apparatus were there. You could see that the firefighters were doing different tasks. I didn't focus on that. I was basically being briefed by Deputy Evans, but I could see all this going in the peripheral.
Okay. And did you? So where did you and Deputy Evans station at when you arrived at the scene? Were y'all in the front of the house, or were you in the side of the house, or the back of the house?
I came in from County Road 215, which is east of the residence. So when I spoke with Deputy Evans, it would have been in the yard or the lawn area. Best recollection would be to the east, basically the east, maybe slightly northeast of the residence. So between the residence and County Road 215.
Okay. What was the weather conditions like, as you recall?
I recall the driveway being wet, muddy. I know at some point there was rain, and then later on into the evening, I know there was some snow. But I don't remember when I first got there what was going on with the atmosphere.
Do you recall where the ambulance was positioned when you arrived?
It was in the lawn, east of the residence.
Okay.
It could have been on a driveway. I don't recall the actual structure of the driveway, but it was in the driveway or lawn, that curtilage area around the house.
Okay. And you went to the ambulance, is that correct?
Sometime during the afternoon or evening I did. I don't recall when exactly that was. I was there for some time, probably a period of hours at the scene. I don't remember at what time I went to the ambulance itself.
You don't recall how long you were there?
I do not.
Okay. Do you recall, based on your position, did you reduce your activities to a written report?
I did not. As a patrol sergeant, it's common for me just to have a subordinate deputy, so to speak, just include what I did in their report.
Okay. Okay. Do you have to review that report?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Do you know, would that report have been prepared by Deputy Evans?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And How were you the assigned individual to collect the clothing of Miss Stermer?
That I do not recall. If that was something I was asked to do by the detectives, I don't remember if it was done pursuant to any of the actions they were taking.
Do you know who the detective was?
We had a detective, a sergeant named Thomas Maziowski, and a detective named Gabrielle Rott that were both on scene.
Okay.
So it could have been either of those two that asked for that to have happened.
Okay. And can you tell us how the exchange of the clothes occurred? Were you given a bag or just the loose clothes and asked to preserve those items?
That I do not recall. I do not recall if the clothing was handed to me directly from Linda Stermer, or if there was other staff, such as our victim services ladies that were there. My recollection is the clothing was that Linda Stermer changed her clothing inside the privacy of an ambulance. How I got to take first possession of those 3 articles of clothing, I don't remember. If Linda Stermer came out and dressed in other clothing and gave them to me, or if someone else that was inside the ambulance with her would have given them to me.
Do you recall what the state of the clothing were when you received them?
I do not.
Don't recall whether or not they were wet?
I do not.
What is your procedure for preserving the items that you have received? I assume that at that time you considered these items to be of some evidentiary value, right?
Yes.
And that there would have been a chain of custody in reference to maintaining the items, right?
In this situation, at this particular scene, the exchange from my possession of the 3 articles of clothing to Deputy Evans would have been nearly immediate, as he was on the same scene with me. So I wouldn't have taken the clothing away and given them to him, say at the station or a different location. It would have been fairly fluid.
But they were already bagged when they were given to you?
That I do not recall.
Okay.
I did not package or bag the clothing. I don't remember doing that.
And do you recall whether or not you took any pictures of the items?
I know I did not.
Okay. And they were placed in your patrol car, or were you driving your personal car?
I don't have a recollection of that. I can speculate, but I don't have a recollection.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. But at some point in time, you transferred the items to the Sheriff's Department, is that right?
I would have given the items, the 3 articles of clothing, to Deputy Evans himself.
Okay. But Deputy Evans was at the scene, right?
Yes.
So when you received the items, they were placed in your patrol car or your vehicle, right?
He's actually placing words into the witness's mouth. I'd ask that he just ask questions. I don't think there's been testimony that's placed in the patrol car, so he's actually testifying and placing those words out there even before the witness has said them.
Your Honor, I was going to clarify, I just was saying vehicle.
It's also asked and answered.
It's getting, I agree with that.
But-
Have you moved
Thank
on?
you, Judge. I'll move on. You placed the items in a vehicle. and transported him to the sheriff's office?
I do not recollect that, and I'm leery of speculating or trying to give you what I believe I would have done.
My point is, I'm just trying to find out, when did they get to Deputy Evans?
Could I answer what is likely?
But not what you really know.
Yes,
So you really don't know when they got to Deputy Evans?
I do not.
Thank you. Was there any other involvement that you had, Deputy, while you were there on the scene the day of the fire?
Not to what I've already testified to. Nothing additional.
Nothing additional?
No, sir.
Okay. No interviews with any persons or anybody that was there on the scene?
None.
But you were there for approximately 3 hours?
I don't recall. I know it was a period of hours.
Okay. But during that time, were you just standing around?
There are different responsibilities, different scenes or dynamics sometimes. I don't recall exactly every minute what I did do there. I could give examples. I mean, at one point, I was using the telephone, to have dispatch send our detective division out. Our victim services unit was there, which are volunteer civilians that we utilize in types of tragedies and that type of thing. I would have dealt with them. Other than that, I would have just been there, keep maintaining a presence, yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Follow-up, Ms. Siderby?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Jury, do you have questions of this witness? No? Okay. May he be excused from his subpoena, counsel? Excused from subpoena?
I'd ask you to get two. Oh, should he?
Oh, I'm sorry, we've got a question. Questions from the jury, no objection from counsel. Did you notice a van on the premises?
I did, yes.
As an investigator, were you informed about the blood on the van?
I was, yes.
Okay. Counsel, any questions in light of those questions and answers?
No, Your Honor.
I just have one question.
Okay.
Deputy Franks, who was it that informed you about the van?
That I do not remember. However, at the scene, during the course of the investigation and throughout the few hours that I was at the scene, I had occasion to brief with or be briefed by our detective division. Once the detective division got there, as far as hierarchy, chain of command, they would have been in charge. And I do not remember exactly which person told me that, but it was during one of our huddles or one of our briefings there at the scene that I was informed of that.
Okay. That was it? That was it?
That was it, yes.
So you didn't ever go and actually do a physical inspection of the van yourself?
No, and why I did not was because I was a sergeant, basically a road sergeant, a patrol sergeant. Our criminal investigators, our detectives, that's their purview. That's what they're there for.
Okay.
So I did not usurp their responsibility.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Ms. Siderby?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Jury, any other questions of him? No? And you both agreed to excuse him from subpoena, correct?
I'd ask that you please be excused.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You're all done.
Thank you.
Ms. Siderby?
Thank you, Your Honor. People call Dr. Michael Markey.